Hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully the sound of the music is not too high. Yeah, just let me know in the chat. So yeah, today we're gonna continue with the build of the Fysetc Voron 0.2. Hopefully by the end of today it will look a little bit more like a printer. We're going to try and get the A and B drives, the Z-axis, and at least get the X-axis on, and then maybe belts, or maybe we'll save that till next time. Which is the first on. I really need to do something about how big the chat is on my screen because I can't see it. Can I pop this chat out? I don't think I can. Cannot hear any music, but only got one earpod in. It should be on, but I didn't want to have it too loud. So let me try and just increase it a little bit, and then you let me know if you can or can't hear it. Yeah, I can't see how I can pop that chat out, which is annoying. But I'll just go with it. So, a couple of things I want to talk about first. So Fysetc has not asked me to do this. I'm just obviously in their social media channels, and they posted about it. So they are having so if you didn't know, Fysetc are celebrating their 9th anniversary. And what they're doing is having a giveaway stream. I think, I can't even remember, but it's like, I think it's maybe the 15th to 17th of May for the actual live stream. It's fine for me, you are clear. That's the main thing. Yeah, I can hear the music, so it's okay for me. Yeah, so they're having a giveaway. Many different prizes, I assume. There's a main prize of a Voron v0.2 kit. However, to win that prize, I think you have to buy one of, I think it's 4 selected products, which is basically another Voron. And I think there's is it a BLV Cube Core XY printer. So to win the main prize, you've got to buy another printer essentially. But I've pinned the comment, so the pinned comment is a link to the Facebook post. Again, I have no affiliate with them. Entirely up to you if you choose to go and view the link. I just put it up there so that people can see it if they wanted to try and win one. And I assume there's other prizes as well. So yeah, let's just get on, I suppose. So let's switch over to the other camera. So what I've actually done, I'll just put the light on so I can see, is I've tried to get myself a bit more space. So this is no longer sort of in the middle, but I've got a little bit more space that I can work with, and hopefully try and keep what you're seeing on camera. So yeah, basically what we're going to do today is the A and B drive to start with. So I've got the manual open, and I'm just going to see what the next steps are. So I've already gone ahead and put heatset inserts in. Let me grab a few bits. Basically because you don't want to be seeing me putting inserts in. You should go stand up to get these bits. So I think you're really going to see by the end of it, the pink highlights are going to be a lot more apparent. And if you haven't seen the post that I've made on social media, obviously this is the colour scheme I've gone through. And I could have gone with like just completely stock parts, but what I've done is I've printed the face plate, or the front of the mini stealth burner, and the front of the display with the 2-color hex pattern. It's pretty easy technique to do. So this is done without any sort of multi-material unit. You basically, in Prusa Slicer, sort of play around with the models and change parts of the body to modifiers. So you essentially print one set of parts or bodies first, which in this case was the Galaxy Black, and then you immediately after that's printed and finished, you print the main color. So you have to do a few things with your start print macro, but other than that, it's pretty easy and it comes out really nice. And I think that's going to be a really nice effect on the front. Let's put them up there. Right, and let's start building some stuff. So looking at the manual, we just basically need to, and we'll start with the A drive, which is this one. And let me find which one this is going to be. So that'll be that one. So yeah, so we're just going to basically start building. So these are basically the belt tensioners for the drives. Galaxy Black, and then this pink ABS. So let's have a look at the manual. So we need some M335s, which are these ones, I believe. And like I say, I've already put the inserts in. So we're also going to need our bearings and printed and shims. So let's find those next. M3 by 6 by 0.5 shims, and then our printed spacers, which are in one of these boxes. So just for reference, that's the standard front of the mini stealth burner, and you could probably do that in one process as well, but these are just stuck on the front, these black bits. But I think it looks way cooler in the hex. Right, I'm going to have to fish these spacers out. Because they're pretty tiny and they're in the bottom of the box. So what's everyone been up to this weekend? The weather hasn't been too great here today, or end of yesterday today. I think that's it. So I should have everything printed, hopefully. Bearings, let's find those. They're in this one. Get this back out. So yeah, we just have to basically build our bearing stacks now. Okay, so we want to take our top piece, which is this bit, And then we have an air 35 through the top, through this part, and then one right next to it, which is that one. We then have to turn this upside down, which is where it can get a little bit tricky. So Rich is saying it should be family barbecue for his niece's second birthday, but didn't want to give germs out. So, oh, you're full of cold. Full of cold. So quite a day. Yeah. We're sort of, I know a few people are sort of coming down with a bit of a cold at this time of the year. I actually went out, met a few friends yesterday, went for a breakfast that we fairly regularly do. So let's try and build these bearing stacks. So I'll do the one nearest first. So we want get some stuff out. We want a washer, or a shim I should say. Yeah, we're definitely going to have trouble with these. So obviously you can see the chat as well, so I want to make sure that I'm allowing you to see what I'm doing. So we then have got bearing, another bearing up the opposite way, so we're basically creating our path for the belt, and then we want two more shims. So Richard says he can't hear the music, which might be a good thing, because the last stream I was using Spotify to play some music in the background, but that ended up getting, well, the adverts ended up getting a copyright claim, which is kind of expected. I thought I might have been able to get away with it, but they were claimed, so I had to do some stuff with the video in the end to edit out the two times it got claimed. So I haven't really watched back the last stream to see whether it had an impact or not, but it's a little annoying, but it's what it is, I suppose. So we then need we're going to do the second bolt now. So we've got our printed spacer goes on. Probably should have cleaned these up a little bit first. I think they'll be okay. So we have a spacer, then a shim, then two bearings. Obviously creating that belt path again, and then another shim. And then we have to try and get this assembly so what it's basically saying is we've then got to get this part. Yeah, so I slightly adjusted it, Richard. I did a little test stream earlier because I wanted to see how the chat looked, and I think there's quite a big delay, so yeah, I'll probably be doing things, and by the time you tell me that you've done it, I would have forgotten about it. So yeah, now we've got to try and get this all together. while not having things fall out. So this is where we want, oh, I think I've also missed a step, which is going to mean I'll have to take all these off. No, I thought it was going to ask for a washer under the screws, but it hasn't. So we just want to try and push these through as far as we can, so that they're sticking out the other end, which is great. Now it says to measure the bearing stack, but everything looks where it should be, so I'm fairly happy with that. And then we want some M3 30s to basically put this together a bit. So let me see what I want to do. Here we go. It looks like we're actually going to be doing the motor again, and one of the motors as well shortly. So we've got these two. So these basically go in to the top in this position. So on the how can I do this without loosening anything? So if I do that, you can see we've got some heat inserts where I'm going about to screw some screws through. So this is what will keep this together briefly while we're doing other things, basically. And this should be fairly free to move, which it is. We don't want those to fall out, so we'll just pull them through a bit. I guess I can put one of these nuts on as well. So we need now to do one of the motors. So we need our little spacer thingy, and we need what will be the A motor. And I'm not sure if the two that Fysetc gives us are identical or if one has a slightly different length wire. So let's have a look. So the motors are wired up and labelled, so we know which one is A because it tells us. I just want to be curious to see if they are same length or different. Yeah, so they're identical. So we'll still use the one with A on. So now what we've got to do is put our GT2 20-tooth pulley on, which should be in this bag, or are they in a different one? I think they're in a different one. Indeed they are. So they're in this little bag. So make sure we get this the right way up. We'll also take these grub screws out because we are going to put a bit of Loctite on them. And we also have to make sure we get the cable the right way around. So this one has got to go with the fat bit pointing up basically. So we find our flat of the shaft, and then we want our A section of our guide. And basically what happens is we sit this on the body of the stepper like that, and then we'll use that bit that sticks out, that will go in the pulley like that, so that sets it at the correct height. So now I've shown you that, I can do that. It's a little bit easier for me to see what I'm doing. Yeah, we want a little bit of Loctite, because we don't want these to come loose. And I'll put a bit on both of them. Yeah, so going back to my story with regards to Spotify. So now what I'm using is a streamer that I've watched in the past. Also, this is their playlist for their streams, which I believe is okay to use. So I've just got a bit of hit and roll here. I'm just going to wipe off the excess Loctite from the front. So now I can put this pulley on, now that I've shown you what I'm going to do. There's no easy way of doing it. You sort of need another pair of hands to do this properly. What you can do is sort of get the grub screw in enough that it doesn't revolve around the shaft, and then we can use our little spacer tool to actually get it where we want. Which is about there, and then it does tell us that we should have 8.5 mil between the body of the stepper, the silver bit, and then the bottom of the pulley. So just looking at it roughly, 5, 6, 7. So we could probably go up a little bit. So yeah, about there, and then we tighten these down. Oh, and that's just moved, so that was a waste of time. Yeah, you sort of need several hands to be able to do it, really. But we'll get there. You don't want to do these too tight, because you'll also potentially damage the grub screw, the head of the grub screw. But obviously you want to do it tight enough that you can be sure that it's not going to come off. So that's the first one done. And we'll just double check. So that should be okay. We've got Loctite all over me. Let's move this out of the way. And then we're going to be putting this into the body that we've just prepared. So we want some 35mm bolts, 4 of. And some washers. Now I'm not sure if they Fysetc have given us washers as well as the shims. It doesn't appear so. We basically just use them interchangeably. So what we're going to need to do is a little bit of space so you can see what we're doing. So this whole section now goes this way, goes into our motor like this, and then we need to get a washer and a bolt into the 4 holes on top. Like so. So we've got to go through the printed part, and then obviously into our I'll just start that roughly in the right place, and then do the other 3. There we go, so that's basically held in with 2 now. And obviously what we're going to want to do is have this at its how do I call it? Slackest position, so that if we need to tighten the belts up, we can do that. We probably don't need to worry about that just yet, but I'll just put it in the right place for now. Let's get these other 2 bolts in. And let's screw these down. So these haven't got to be tight yet at all, because we're obviously going to be moving things around and belts, etc. So that's the A drive done. We've got the wire coming out this side. So as if we were looking at the printer in front of us, this would be on the right hand side, and then now we're going to build the B drive, which will be on the left hand side. So basically what it's now going to ask, it's just going to ask us to check our belt paths basically. So the bottom 2 sets, or the bottom row is in line with the pulley on the stepper, and then the top one will be what's going to be on the other side basically. So yeah, so that's that one done. And we basically now do the exact same thing for the one on the other side. So let's bring this part over, get our pink bit, build our bearing stacks with some 35mm. So this one goes in to the hole with the bit on the top, and then we go in the hole next to it, and then we turn this over, and then this is where we have to basically try and hold screws and all sorts of stuff. So I'll do the one nearest to this post first. So we want a shim, like that. And then we've got some bearings. If I can get it to go on, there we go. So a bottom, and then another one. And then we want 2 shims. Not the easiest things to deal with. Let's try and do one at a time. I actually had a hoover up here in here today in case I drop anything, and then I can see exactly where it goes. So then we've got another bearing, and then we top that off with another shim. And then we do the same on the other side. So we've got a shim like that, a couple of bearings, another shim, get a couple out in case we need them. Brilliant, put that one on. And then we need one of our little printed spacers. There we go. So that goes on there like that. So that's this side completed. And then again, same thing, we have to try and sandwich that into this without anything falling off, basically. And again, we have to just fish it through the holes. And then once it's sort of sitting on here, yeah, and we can just sort of screw these in a little bit just to push them through like that. And then our M330s just to hold this together. And again, they go in the side opposite with some heat press inserts on the underside. Just like that. So then again, this moves, sort of everything is held together basically. So we can put that down. We now have to prepare the B motor. And again, we've got our spacer with the B, and again it will sit on the motor like that. And this time the pulley goes the opposite way up, so the fat bit at the bottom. So again, we'll take the grub screws out. We will put some Loctite on those. And if you're looking for Loctite, if you're going to be doing something like this, there's a link in the description to the one I'm using, which is from Halfords. Can't remember how much it was. So I actually bought this for the Voron 2.4 build, which you can sort of see behind me over here. I think it's about £5 something, so it's not too bad, and it lasts forever. So we'll just again wipe off any excess like that. Get our V motor. So again, the fat bit on the bottom. Get our spacer, and then it just basically goes higher up. So let's get this started so that we don't spin. And if you want to check again, so this time the height is to the bottom of the fat bit, so 17.5 mil. And again, remember to tighten up both the grub screws. There we go. Then we put this in to the other part that we just built. So again, M35s. Four of. Just get one extra washer out. Okay. So I see we've got a few more people watching. What have what's everyone been up to this weekend? So make sure I get this the right way around. So cable going out this side, which means we have our screw bit on the same side, because this will be behind the back panel. Hopefully the music's not too loud for anyone else. So the music is good volume for other people as well. That's good. And hopefully we won't get any copyright strikes this time. Although, as I said in the previous stream, because the channel isn't monetized, it doesn't have a massive effect, and the copyright claims weren't copyright strikes, so it didn't affect anything. So again, don't tighten these up yet, because we'll be obviously getting belts and everything through. And then again, it's going to ask us to check our work on the next page. So this time, basically, where the two bearings are along the top, that lines up with the pulley, and then the bottom one is what receives the belt from the other side. So yeah, they should all be fine. And now we're actually going to be putting them on the printer, and I've just forgotten to put that on, so we'll just put that on. So this is where we start, the printer starts looking a bit more like a printer, because we have to actually start putting things on it. So let's make a bit of room. And the music seems to have stopped for me, so I'm just going to check that. Here we go. So let me grab the frame over. There we go. So the only thing I have done in between streams is to put the little holder here under the bed, which has the Wago connectors and the little PCB for the thermistor, and that's just so they're more quick disconnect type things. Right, so as the instructions manual says, the printer goes bar like a sheet. So what that basically means is, if we're looking from the front of the printer, which we are here, the B drive, which is the one we just did, and we can check that because we've got B on our stepper motor, that one goes on the left hand side. So let's just get some screws prepared first. So we want 35s. So if we read the instructions, so yeah, B goes on the left, A on the right. The two rear screws attached to the threaded frame ends. So we've got this one here and this one here, which you can't see. There. So they're threaded into the frame. The two forward attached to a preloaded nut. So we can see some of our preloaded nuts here. So we'll just move these ones out of the way. So we've got those ones there. And then we'll have some here as well. So let me try and work out how best to do this. So we might be missing no, so we have, confusing myself now. Let's just get this on and see where we're at. So this one is going to go on there and it's going to go into the frame like that, and then what we need to do is try and line up. So we try and lift it up a bit. We'll try and get that there. So I think that we're going to have, yeah, one more of them. So it's probably easier actually to do the middle one first, and then you can, or maybe not. There we go. So we obviously want to make sure we don't do it too tight that we stop bearings from moving around or anything. So what we've got, if I just, there we go. So we've got two nuts here. So from the 0.1 to the 0.2, they actually changed how many screws attach here. So we literally have one on the back, essentially, on each side. So we'll do one side at a time, just because it's a little bit easier. So this is going to go through here, and we're going to try and capture into that nut like that, and then we'll do the same for this side. Just like that. So again, not going too crazy on tightening these down. But that's essentially our B drive done, and then obviously this will move in and out to adjust belt tension later. So that was pretty simple. So let's do this side. We need 2 down here, and then that one. And again, our cables are facing inwards of each other, if that makes sense. There we go, so that's those 2. Went a bit too far back with that nut placement. Oops. Not always easy to line up nuts that you essentially have to sort of just poke under and hope that you don't go too far or not enough. There we go. Where's that other nut? There he is. So basically you just want to try and push the nut under enough to catch the screw coming down from the top. And then if you don't, that happens and it pops out. You basically want to try and get it to sit on top, and then the act of screwing it down will sort it out for you. And then this one's going to be a bit of a pain, it seems. There we go. So again, let's tighten these up a little bit, but not crazy tight just yet. And again, making sure we don't tighten these, the ones with the bearings on, too much, because we don't want to stop anything from moving freely, basically. So yeah, as you can see, we're already starting to look a little bit more like a printer. So we're already now on to the next step, which is the A and B idlers. So these are the bits at the front of the printer where the belts again go. So for the time being, I'll just move this out of the way. Just grab a quick drink. And then find the parts that I need. So if I don't remember, I want to talk about the whole bed assembly a bit later, because that won't be today. That'll be a step further down. But I just want to talk about not a bad thing, but just something that perhaps needs a little bit more clarification from Fysetc. And obviously we have to prepare the bed before we can actually use it, and that it's best to do that a day or two before you're going to want to install it. So we'll talk about it, and then I'll be doing the preparation ready for when we need it. So we need to get a few more things prepared here. So again, we need some 35s. So we'll get a few of these out ready. We want some shims. And of course our bearings. Okay, so these are the parts we need. So basically what we need is these two parts, and we're going to be putting basically the same sort of idea of what we've just done, is that we put a bolt through the top here, and we're going to be basically creating our bearing stack. So put that through there as well, and then yeah, so we invert the stack basically and put on our shims and washers, or shims and bearings, sorry. This is pretty simple. So this is just literally shim, two bearings, and then another shim. So that's pretty easy. Do that to this one as well. Like that. And then what we want to do is select the right piece for the right part. So you can see, so that like here where we've got a thinner part here, and here, whoops, a fatter part, we then need the opposite parts to go with them. So the thinner part of this part goes with the fat one, and the fat one goes with the thin one, basically. So we take this one first, and then we're basically going through the second hole like that. And that looks like that, basically. So again, so this time we've got the fat one go through the second hole with the thin one, and then that creates your little stack. And then now we've got to add these to the printer again, so I need to bring that back. It looks like we're going to be preloading some more nuts as well. So we'll start with this side, I think, the B idler. We want to preload 4 M3 nuts. And I've kept them out, so they're here. So they're going down the inside extrusion, if we can, like that. One more. There we go. So what we want here is the fat one, basically the fat one on the bottom, which is this one. So we're going to need another M35. I'll just double check I've got that right. to the next page. Yeah, so we've got the, and we're going to be using this preloaded nut as well that we put in earlier. Just like that. So that sits nicely on the top. And we'll tighten these up a little bit as well. Again, not too tight. We want to make sure that our bearing still moves. So that's fine. Now it asks for us to put in the little cam lock piece, but we have to take it out again later, so I don't really see much point putting it in yet. So we'll do the other side basically, and we don't need any preloaded nuts this time. So we can just assemble this piece with a M35. Try and line up our like that. So again, not too tight. So basically now what it's going to ask us to do is to say, look at your alignment to make sure your bottom, so basically the front A idler needs to line up with the two bearings on the back, and it does, so that's good. And then again on the other side it lines up with the two on the other side. And another check you can do is looking down. We can't see that because of the light, but basically they've got to be sloping away from each other like that, which they do. So we're now onto the Z-axis. So it goes pretty quick once you've got a few things together. So I think we can probably leave the printer over here. So I'll just turn it around. Try and get it in a sort of a space you can see. What we need now is our lead screw nut holder. So I'll just grab that piece. Which is this piece. And our nut. Anti-backlash nut. And then we want two M312s. So let's put these away for the time being, because we don't need these out. I'll probably need to get these out again now that I'm putting them all away, but we'll see. There's the M312. M312 button head, which is what these are. So our anti-backlash nut, the chat, I'm trying to sort of play around with the chat, and the chat window seems to have keeps staying on. I thought it was meant to basically disappear once the chat goes down. So I'm just going to lower this a bit and see what that does for us. Just cleared the chat now because I told it to clear, but we'll see. So basically what we need to do is get this the right way around, which is this way around, and assemble our anti-backlash nut. So this will go like this, and on the 0.1 this nut block holder had the Z end stop thing, trigger screw, but obviously now the Z-axis end stop is on the bottom. So we go up from the bottom and we basically want to screw through the top into this part, which is probably take that part off actually. I was never sort of overly keen on this part because there's not an awful lot holding this nut in place. Like there's not a lot of meat on the edges of the printed part. I'll just make sure that this does still fit and it's sort of central, I guess. No idea. A little bit of wiggle room. We'll tighten that down a little bit. That's why, like my next door neighbours are back. Not too tight. So that was those attached to that. So what screws what bolts do we need? So we need, again, 12s to attach this to our Z carriage. Now the Fysetc bed, because it's all in one piece, obviously no preloaded nuts because there's nowhere to preload them. It's got 2 threaded holes on the back, so that's what we're going to basically screw this into. So let's just see how long these are. So I'll just hold this up a little bit so I can try and screw this in, and this is not going to be very easy. I wonder what let's try and get some cables out of the way. So there's also a bit of geometry into the printed part that also holds it in place. And once I've got one in, it's going to be pretty easy to get the other one in, because they're threaded holes. They should theoretically be in the right place, which they are, or I say they're in the right place. They line up with the part. So we'll just tighten that a bit, and then obviously this is going to go in the top there, which you can't really see, but might be able to get it on the main cam. So yeah, that's sitting in the right place. So let's see what the next step is. So attach that. So it does want us to put it on its top, essentially, because we've got to preload some nuts. So let me flip this over. Hope that we don't lose anything apart from that. Where did that go? The problem with dropping something in here is it could literally go anywhere, like it has. There it is. Found it. Right, so let's preload some nuts. So let me orientate this so it looks the same as the picture for my benefit. So we need to preload three M3 nuts in these two extrusions here. We want 6 in total. There we go. Just like that. And then we want to turn this around. So we've now got the other side. So the other side again needs 3 M3 nuts on each side. So let's do that first. So those who are watching, who weren't here when I sort of talked about it earlier at the start of the stream, the link at the top of the chat, again, no affiliation with Fysetc in terms of I'm giving anything away or they're giving me anything other than this printer or anything like that. They're celebrating their 9th anniversary and they're having a giveaway. Which they will be streaming on YouTube, and I think there's another website, I'm not sure which one it is. So the link is to a Facebook post which details all the details about the stream, the giveaway, qualifying criteria, etc. So check that out if you want to. Could win yourself something, which is always nice. So we've now also got to preload some nuts in the back. So let me just tilt this a bit. So on this side, let me just check. Yep, so this side we want 3. We'll put them in first. 3 M3 nuts in this side. And then we want 4 in the other side. Oh, nearly lost it. There we go, so that's those in. And I think, so basically it's saying in the manual, last chance, we're now going to install the feet. So we're closing off the ends basically. So it's now going to ask us to check that we've got the amount of nuts in that we should have. So we've got 3 at the top, 3 on each side, and this is the left hand side. It's the same on the other side. So we've got 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, or 3 on the top and 3 on either side. And then on the back, we've got 2 up here, 4 here, 3 here, and there should be 1 in there, but there doesn't appear to be. So I'm not entirely sure why I haven't got one there. See if it's got stuck behind something. Ah, yep, there it is. So we have got one where it should be. So yep, they're all in the right place. And then we also need to make sure that we've got from the front of the printer, Rob's still upside down, we've got 4 screws there, which we have. I'm just going to go back in case I've missed a step, because it at one point shows no, so I don't think we've got to that step yet. So we've basically got to now prepare the feet. So we'll just remember that our anti-backlash nut fell out. So again, I've already put the heat set inserts in. So I'll just grab all the feet down. We've got our feet, including one that has the AC inlet in. We need the feet themselves, which I think are in this little bag. Yep. So we'll grab them out. So yeah, so if anyone's got any questions you want to ask while I'm building, or just have a chat, just drop a message in. So we need some M310s. Move this bit of tissue out of the way. Now I think these are M310s that we had in last week's stream. Let me just measure. Yep. So we've got, how many of these do we need? 4, presumably. So we can put our feet on. So we've got our, if I can get a bit more room so you can see what I'm doing. So we've got our AC inlet with our space for a foot here. So the foot goes into the threaded insert basically. And something I did find, because obviously I've gone through the manual a little bit to see what's coming up. But we have to, the bottom panel has to have the feet removed to put it in and on and off, which is a little bit odd, because I know that was something that they changed on the 2.4. I don't know if they changed it, but I know you don't, the feet can stay on when you're taking the bottom panel off the 2.4. So yeah, just put our feet on the feet. And 2 of the two of the three here that look the same are actually, one of them's different because it has the position for the Bowden tube, or the reverse Bowden, I should say. So we'll just have to make sure we identify that when we're putting feet on. So now it wants us to put those on. So let me try and work out which way around we are. So we've got this at the back. So this side, I believe, is our main power thingy. So that's going to go this way, like that. We have an M340 going through the printed part into the corner of the extrusion. We're going to need 4 of these out. There we go. So this basically goes through this hole here and then sticks out just a little bit, which then goes into the threaded end of the extrusion here. Like that. And then we'll just put these on, and then we've got to, so as I was saying, the one with this hole in is for the Bowden tube. So this one goes opposite our foot we just put on, basically. So that will go here. And the threaded inserts are for the skirts to attach to. So we have to make sure we get this the right way around as well. So this, for example, wouldn't go over here because you can't see that. But this one has to go on the front here. And then the last one goes over here. We'll just tighten these down a little bit. So this larger one, the AC power inlet, this also has where we've got these two hex nuts in the back. This is what we're going to use to attach those. So they are M310s as well. That just holds this a little bit more securely as well. So let's put our other hex nut in place. That there. I'll screw this in. Just like that. So we now have to put on some accent pieces. So I know that we're going to need the if I can find them. The self-tapping 10 M2 by 10s. So no, the bottom panel is acrylic, but it's a matte finish. No need to apologise for being late, Richard. Yeah, so it is acrylic, but it is matte, and it does look really nice. Now it's covered in cat hair. Our cat is an indoor cat, so he's never been in here, but it's quite, the static is obviously attracting the hair. Oops. I've just got to grab some printed parts. Out here, so I'm just going to grab a quick drink as well. So actually a quick question for you all regarding panels. So my V0.1, I did a lot of panels are all not all custom, but I did some laser engraving on them. So I'm wondering if I should do that with this this one as well, and if I do, what should I put on them? So I found an example of something someone had done on printables, which looked quite good. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a Voron logo you can get that's got the parts for whatever printer sort of laid out into a hex, and then obviously the Voron logo is in the middle. And I have that on the bottom, well, it's up there now, but I've got that on the bottom of my V0.1. And I was thinking about putting that on the top of the top hat panel, but I'm not entirely sure just yet. So basically these have got to be screwed on something like this basically. So we're going to start seeing a bit more colour come into the bottom as well now. So these are just M2 10 self-tapping screws. So there's always the risk with these that you might split the plastic, but hopefully the tolerances are okay. Yeah, we don't need to go too crazy. They're only accent parts. But yeah, so that just screws onto the top there basically. So let's do this one. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with if I'm going to do any etching on it yet, or if I'm just going to keep it fairly plain. I think it looks really good, but I also don't want to do it and mess it up and then I haven't got a panel. So Richard says he prefers vinyl than etching. So I have got I probably have got a machine in the house that I can use to cut some vinyl. So that is an option, and I suppose that's a little less permanent as well, isn't it? So if we decide that doesn't look very good, we can change it. Trying to get this in frame for you, but failing miserably. So I could definitely have a go with the vinyl idea. And I've got so one of the parts, one of the panels that come with the kit, I'll just grab it because it's only literally up here. This part we won't actually be using because we'll be putting the umbilical mod on, which came with the kit. So we could maybe test an etch on there, laser etch, to see what that looks like. And also we can test and put a bit of vinyl on there as well. Of course the vinyl is probably going to have to be pink, isn't it? So that it stands out and matches the rest of the printer. Would look pretty cool, I think. The Voron logo in pink, matching vinyl would look sick. Yeah. We've got Remy here as well from the Cyborg. There's more Cyborg people here than there is anyone else. Apart from the other Richard, who's more from the Voron server and Twitter. So that's those on. Right, now we've got to do the XAxis stepper. So let's get some bits. We've got another printed part, which is up here. We've got the XAxis motor, which is over here. Are you going to go with the stock panel mounts, or are you going to try soy clips? Well, I've printed all the standard, all the stock parts, so I'll probably go with them to start with. But I do agree that they are a little bit of a pain to put on. Are when you're talking about soy clips, are they the annex engineering ones, or is there some different ones? Right, so we need M3/8s. Not those ones. Too many screws. There's some stuff we don't need. A 10. M3/8 button head. Let me just put them down there. So this has two different size screws in. So we've got two M3/8 button heads, and we want an M3/6 button head also. So let's see if I can find that. There, 10s, there, nuts. 8. M3, 25. There we go. M3. Whoa, yeah. Yep, annex style, but slimmed down to 1515. Fysetc uses same extrusion as Sidewall does, or are they different? Oops, I only need one of them. I think they're the same. I haven't got. Oh, I've got a spare bit. I can grab a bit over here. So they're more of the. Am I going to be able to show you that on screen? Is that? Can you see that? So I can get it a bit closer. So they're quite square edges on the extrusion. I think they're not. I think, are they the same as my other V0? I'm not sure. Right, look at this on. We're not going to apply lubrication yet. Direction of the motor wires does not matter. Use whatever makes most sense for you. Okay. We've got to put this on here like this. And that basically sits on there like that. And then the two long ones on the outside edges. And then the little one goes in that hole there. So let me try and think. Fysetc have got their own extrusion factory. Sweet. I'm just going to have a look on my other V0 and see which way round I've got that lead screw. Or more accurately, where I've got the motor cable coming out. Just so I can sort of try and keep it the same. Yeah, I think that's the same. Own CNC factory, I think they do their own extrusions. Yeah. So they do the bed mount there, and presumably if they're going to do some CNC parts later down the line, they'll do them there as well. Okay. So now we've got to put this into this. Let me try and get that in a good position. I've got to remember to put this in. And the music stopped again. It likes to do that. It likes to ask you, are you still listening? Right, so. We've basically got to get this which way around did I put that? Yeah, put it that way around. Onto here. But we obviously want to try and compress the anti-backlash nut. Move this wire out of the way. So, where's this thing? This is going there, basically. What's that?
His actions then puts the law around doing anodizing in the city. I always pictured an extrusion machine, extrusions like pouring liquid aluminium and pooping out the other end. Yep, I would imagine that's pretty much what it is.
Do I want that motor cable there? Yeah, that should be fine.
Right, so
let's try and find these nuts.
we want
M3/8s. M3/8s. Have I got any of them in there? No. I'm going to put some of M3/8s into one of my trays. Okay. Yeah, I think the matte panels look really nice. Stand up so I can see the nuts. There we go. Find that later. Let's get another one. There we go. So basically what we're doing is just attaching now the Z-axis to the actual frame. So we have 2 screws on the bottom, and then there's 2 on the inside as well. Which I always think this one's a bit awkward to get at, because you've got to try and line up the nuts. Try and put the bed right at the top, so it's out of the way. I've got the 2 nuts now on either side of the thing, of the extrusion. So let's get a nut. Okay, thanks for dropping in, Remy. Oh, I'd quite like some pancakes as well. You made me hungry now. Love a good pancake. Let's try and move this bed. How does it all go? Yeah. It's the problem with ow. Once we get them started, they'll be fine. Let's try and get the other one in before we tighten that up. There we go. US pancakes equals good pancakes. True. I do make American style pancakes when I make them. But I guess they wouldn't really know what our British pancakes are like, though, would they, Richard? They're more like a crepe than they are a pancake. So what I should have done before I tightened those down too much is we're just going to run the bed up and down. I'll just loosen these off a little bit so that we can do that. Let me just flip this around. So yeah, undo these a little. And then what we'll do is we'll move the bed up and down just to make sure everything's sort of moving okay. Oh, you prefer the British ones? Well. Let's tighten this down now we're at the bottom. Not too tight. The British ones are just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Pancake day, British ones. Breakfast, American ones. That's how I roll. So let me tighten these down. That probably needs to be a rule. No talking about food on stream. Yeah, that seems to be okay. Yeah, so it does say in the manual to do that. Tighten the screws on the actuators from the previous to ensure stay in place. Yep. So now we're onto the X-axis basically. We're moving along pretty well. Just got to wrap that around there. Move this back. So what do we need to do? So we need to build some bits first. So let's move the printer out of the way. So we shouldn't lose any screws. There we go. We definitely, if I put this behind us, we can probably keep it in shot. There we go. So let's have a quick drink. So we've now got to make the XY joints for the X-axis. So let me find those parts. I'm going to need those parts in a minute. So we've got to do some more bearing stacks basically. So let's try and get the parts matched up to what we want. So these should be these two. So again, I've put heat press inserts in already. We want M325s now. There's quite a lot of different sizes, isn't there, in these builds? We want at least 2 of these. I'll leave the packet out. We're going to need our bearings, shims and spacers again. So I might actually try and clean these up a bit first, these spacers. Just so we can go a little bit quicker. The X-axis is sort of the last step that I wanted to try and do today. And what we'll do once I've done that is we'll talk about the bed that I wanted to just briefly touch on. So yeah, we'll see how we go for time for this, but we should be okay. Right, so we're going to build some bearing stacks. So we need this part here. Oh no, we don't. We need this part here. So basically just trying to match up what I'm seeing on the picture to what we want. So we want to put our 2 M325 screws in these 2 holes. And then we're going to flip that over. And again, look at what we've got on the manual to what we've got in front of us. So we'll start with this this side over here. So we put the spacer on first, and then we want I didn't get them out. 2 shims. Have I used a Kirami? Yep, there's one on my other V0. So I put that was installed after I built it, and that was a bit of a pain because you more or less have to disassemble it. Who's that? Richard, you mess this bit up every time. Yeah, so I have got one that's on my other V0. It's definitely, I actually really like the mod, and it's definitely something you should try and do when you're building from scratch. I think it's okay to add it in later, but it is a bit of a pain. And then another 2 shims. The only problem with this is they don't, the screws are, you don't get a lot of extra space. So I'm sure they're going to fall off in a second. So the next one is 2 shims. Oop. Two shims, 2 bearings.
2 more shims. Let's get some more out. And then another printed spacer. Yep. And then basically what we need to do is put this bit on top. Like this. So the only thing is, I don't think there's enough. Oh, there is. Hadn't quite got it all the way in the hole. I have a Kiriyami of mine. I'm interested to see how you find the bed mount versus the Kiriyami. Yeah, so how trying to think how you would really compare them. Obviously you don't have the LED in the Fysetc one. I'm not entirely sure how the cable management will be. That's something we can talk about in a second actually. And then we want one of these. So we'll just double check that I've got that the right way around. And then this should be 19mm apparently. Yep, good enough. I like the idea of the Kiriyami mod or this mod, because I think it's a little bit more rigid than yeah, I was gonna say it looks a bit, it's more rigid than the stock bed for sure. So that's the first one done. So that was pretty straightforward, as long as you follow the... I would say I reckon the bolts could be a little bit longer. They are, yeah, 25s. I reckon you could probably go with 30s to be honest, just so they go through into the heated insert a bit better. So we've now got to do the other side basically. So again, I've already done the insert. So we get our things, get our 25s. Go either side of the bit at the bottom. These might actually get held a bit better in the part. Oh no, that was a bit loose. So we'll do this one on this side first. So we've got 2 shims. So I moved the camera up a little bit to give me more room, which kind of does help with you being able to see more, but I'm not sure if the focus is very good, and if it's now too far away you can't really see what I'm doing very well. So I'll have to think about maybe putting it back down to where it was. We'll see. Pick them up. There we go. Printed spacer. There we go. That's that one done.
So then we're basically the opposite way. Just going to clean that off a little bit. Don't know where I've put the little file that I had. That should be fine. So, printed spacer first, then 2 shims, and 2 bearings. So we don't appear to have received any spare bearings. I guess you would hope that you wouldn't need them. But yeah, no spare bearings. So that's that stack built. And then again, we just basically put this top piece on. Trying to sort of find the best orientation to get things screwed in, but not drop everything at the same time. So I'd like to just look at what I'm looking at and then just make sure I've got it all where it needs to be. Make sure everything moves. Where's it saying 19mm should be here? Yep. We've got to put our M2 self-tapper in. And that just closes this little gap up basically. Just brings it all together. Just like that. Make sure everything's moving okay, which it is. So that's that done. Right. So this is one of the features of the Fysetc kit which I really like, and I'm not sure really how much of a difference it makes, good or bad, but they are using a CNC X-beam, so it's sort of a lightweight extrusion basically, or an extrusion replacement. So I've already gone ahead and put the linear rail on, so that's all done. Now if we look at the manual, obviously we have to have a distance here between the end of the yeah, Richard loves the CNC X beams, so 25mm from the end. Now I haven't looked at this, but it is pretty much spot on 25mm, so that's perfect. Now the manual calls for adding some preloaded nuts, which we can't do, but Fysetc provides us with this extra STL, which basically is just a block that goes in the end. So I can get that in. And then I haven't lined that up very well, but you then put 2 inserts on each side, and then that block will go in the end, I believe. So yeah, so we can now basically put some of this together again. So let's see. So we're going to want these. These go I'm just going to sort of match the picture basically and try and orientate it the same way. So we want some M312s. Let's get some bits together first. M312s. We want at least 4 of them. And then we've got M36 on the bottom. 38. We've got some M36s around here somewhere. There they are. M36. I like the block they have. Yeah. So they don't. There's no extra instructions with regards to how to deal with this. But I think you technically only need one insert in the bottom, but I've just put both of them in just because. So basically we're putting this together, but we're leaving most of it loose, because what we're going to be doing is putting this in the printer and then making adjustments. But this excuse me, this is one of the things I was unsure about, because there's no adjustment in these screws. So the size that this is the size that this is going to be, basically. So let's put this one on first. So let's put this block in. So this block goes in the end here, and then this whole beam goes in here. And we've basically got to try and line everything up. So we'll just try and get this started. If I can get that there. Or if I can use the other one to sort of see where we're going. Yeah. We'll just try and get one in each side first. I'm just going to make sure I've got these the right way around. Should be fine. I use them both in my views areas. Yeah. Oop. Okay, so we'll put the other screws in, and again we're leaving them. We will leave them a little bit loose. And then on the bottom we put one of the. So we're only putting one in on the bottom. You see. There we go. So that's that basically built. And I can probably take these off now, because the block can't now get off. So let's have a look at the next step. So the next step is basically saying check that everything is where it should be. So yeah, basically, like I say, we haven't got a lot of choice because it is built the way it's built, but it should be fine. And we're now going to put this in the printer. So I'll bring the printer back over. So I've got a stop in the thing there, just so it gives me a place to put it. I'm just going to see quickly which hardware we need. So we need M2 by 6. These are like the countersunk ones. So let's see if we can find them. M2 by 6. M2 by 6 countersunk. Right. Yeah, so we basically are now putting this in here like that, and actually I would say that that is actually a pretty good fit. Went in there nicely, there wasn't much, didn't have to push it very hard to get it in at all. So basically, now these are really tiny, but they go on the carriage of the two Y rails basically. Let's get the small thing out. So at what point, okay, so we tighten up in a little bit, so let's just get these in first. And it'll be probably be a miracle if I don't drop some of these. Okay. What did I say? Straight away dropped one. We've got one here. So what I like to do is sort of go backwards and forwards either side, and I think I'm going to put the bed right down the bottom, so I've got as much room as I can at the top here. Not too far, there we go. Yeah, so I like to go backwards and forwards, so that I'm not tightening one side more than the other. We want to try and do it as evenly as possible, basically. And I'm pretty sure I heard it on a Adam Savage video, is you never tighten the screws, all the screws, until all the screws are in. So until we've got all of these in, we won't tighten anything down, basically. These are quite fiddly, they're really tiny. So just take your time. I think the CNC X-beam does look really nice. It's actually quite interesting that so the kit came with these, but the kit also actually comes with and I'm putting that in the wrong one, the standard extrusions as well, and that's for the bed and the X-beam. So if you didn't want to use the CNC bed or the X-beam, the CNC X-beam, you've got the other extrusions as well. So yeah, so we can basically, we haven't tightened everything really hard down, but we can probably take all these stops out now as well. That runs really, really nice. So what we'll do is we'll start tightening things up a little bit. Sort of keep moving it around, make sure we don't bind anything up. So yeah, that is exactly what I thought, Richard. You could use them to make your top hat taller. You would technically, I suppose, have to cut one to make another one, because you'd only have 300mm from the bed. So you could cut your X-beam to 100mm and you'd have 400mm. But of course you would then have to get extra new panels, new side panels. Which one did I just do? Let's do this one. But yeah, you totally could have a taller top hat. I think I would agree that the 100mm top panel would be better. And that's coming from the fact that on my V01 I have the utility belt mod, because the standard top hat just is not, when it's just on the bottom of the frame or the top of the frame, is not tall enough in my opinion. So I think 100mm would have been better in this instance. There we go. So that's all them tightened up on the sides. Now we can tighten the top ones up as well, and the bottom one. Again, we'll tighten these up and move things first. Not trying to over tighten these, of course, as well. There we go. And that moves really nice. Really nice. Really, really nice. Full range of motion, yeah. So we go all the way to the back. You can probably see that. If I stand up a bit. Of course, we've got to square it up and everything anyway. But we come all the way to the front as well. But yeah, everything moves okay. Check this move. You should check for that.
Not, you need to continue. So we need to do a little bit here. So what I would probably do is undo some of these screws. So let's undo these again, because I was not actually reading the manual. Because what we need to do is to de-rack the gantry a little bit. I just got to get the music playing again because it's stopped. There we go. So yeah, what we need to do is obviously move the gantry all the way to the back, and now we're flat on the back, or as far as it will go, I should say. And then what we want to do is then start tightening things up. And obviously at the front as well, because as you can see it's a bit loose, but we want that to be loose when we're tightening things up. So we'll just start tightening things up a little bit. Move it around. Like that. And then not forgetting to do the ones on the bottom. You'll be finished in a week. Well, see, the problem is, I mean, I haven't prepared any of the bed or the tool head yet. So basically once we've done this part, that's where we're going to stop for today. I'm surprised how I didn't know if I was gonna so I would say that these bottom ones are perhaps a little bit too short. So this one tightens up okay, but the M36 on this side doesn't quite here we go, just got it. So we just want to make sure that's not taking it. So it has de-racked it, has racked it a little bit. So let's undo this one a bit. Oops. Yeah, I thought if I was going to be building this on stream, that I'd want to be building it when I'm not on stream. But actually because I've been printing them parts and sort of deciding on colour choice and stuff like that, it's not been that bad. So yeah, it looks like we're having a little bit of an issue with the bottom screws do seem to be a little bit short. But that could also be that what's happened is I haven't put an insert in very straight. So this one sort of does up, but the other side does not. So it could also be that something else is a bit tight somewhere. So what we might do is undo these a little bit. Just see if that lets me tighten this up a bit. There we go. And it is sort of slightly racking it a bit. Let's say you thought of printing one of the. How have you thought about printing one of the heat press inserts? Like this one. So this is the VLMP from Vector 3D, the vertical linear motion press. So yeah, got one of them. I think what it is that, I mean, it could be a number of things, but that's the wrong one. This is where you want to sort of take some time to make sure everything is going in right. So what it's basically doing is pulling this whole bit has to sort of come down a bit. It's just basically a matter of sort of fiddling them around, moving stuff around. Let's have a look, see what's going on here. So I wonder, so I've got the right number of shims. Is this one tight over here? Let's maybe undo this. Yeah, so what it's doing is sort of squeezing this all down a bit too much. And the only way that this side attaches is by squeezing it too hard, because the screw is a bit too short. So I wonder if it's just a bit, the tolerance in the printed part is a bit off. Let's tighten, let's loosen the top ones and we'll do bottom ones first maybe. That's loosened everything up. I mean, you can also take the racking out a little bit later on anyway, so it doesn't have to be absolutely millimeter perfect. So let's now tighten up the top a little bit and see what happens.
That's better. Yeah, that's sort of fixed it. I don't want to put too many ugga-duggers in. I think these are all tight, weren't they? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So we just make sure everything is tight where it needs to be. Without being too tight. Yeah, I think that's good. So we can now put in our top extrusions here. So we want also to preload some things as well. So these are the ones. We'll do one at a time. So we want 3 preloaded nuts in the end. I have to say, I'm pretty happy with the colour choice I went with. It's not, whoops, obviously we haven't got the large parts of the accent colour in yet. But I think the pink does look quite nice. So it wants us to put them in, and then it's going to tell us what screws we want. So we've got 3 on the outside, 3 on the outside. Have you got an insert press, Richard? Whoop. Just put this in here. There we go. Just make sure everything still moves up, which it does. Now keep meaning to print /buy or buy/print one. Yeah, so Vector, I mean, this is not in any way sponsored, but Adam at Vector 3D has his files available on his website. Can't say, obviously I'm a moderating his server, so I speak to him a little bit. Got to keep printing them Vorons. So yeah. Maybe there's another one coming at a later date, another version. But the vertical linear motion press I just show you works really well. Parametric grip for the soldering iron, so it works with loads of different sorts. Doesn't obviously work. Actually, no, it will work with all sorts of soldering irons. It's whether you can get the soldering iron tip for those. I don't know what they call them, like the battery powered ones. So we need some M310s. You see, I didn't put the cam locks in the front because you would now have to take them out. Oops. I've got to try and get this to go in the hole now. There we go. So this doesn't, no, this goes all the way in, doesn't it? Yeah.
tell us the size that goes in the back as well, no? Just M310. So this M310.
Okay, let's do this fucking shit.
Yeah, so it all depends, I guess, on what soldering iron you've got. You'd have to get the one that obviously allows you to change the tip to it seems to be only sort of a standard one that's been made, isn't there? And I know a lot of people like the battery powered soldering irons. M310s on the back as well.
Just need to get round to it properly. I've got a bunch of irons.
Yeah. So I'm actually, the iron that's in that is the one that came with my 2.4 kit. Because I've got another soldering iron which is a soldering station, and I didn't want to use that one because I use that for soldering, obviously, and the one that's in there is just purely for soldering, for doing heat press inserts. So I'm just going to undo this front one a bit. Oop. So. This one's not going in very well. I just wonder why that is. Undo the front a bit more. Let's take this off completely. Drop the screw down the edge now. I'm just going to check that this extrusion is tapped all the way. Yeah, it does seem to be tapped all the way. let's try this all again then. Might have just been a little bit of something stuck at the bottom. So let's make sure we put our nuts back in. And I'll try and get it on screen so you can actually see what I'm doing. I mean, all I'm basically doing is going through the back into the extrusion. I think we're just getting stuck on the plastic basically. Okay, let's try and get the front one in a bit more. There we go. What's everyone got planned for the rest of today then? Although Richard is probably getting a bit later where you are. There we go. Everything still moves, which is good. And that is pretty much where I think we're going to be for today on the build. So the next step in the manual is to basically do the belts, but what I want to do is I'll do that next time, because so after the belts we are basically doing the bed, and I haven't got the bed ready yet. So, morning from California. Who's that? Derek, hello. Just prepping for some docs for a meeting tomorrow from Richard. So let me move this out of the way, because I want to talk about a couple of different things before I wrap up. But this is all moving really nicely. We've obviously got the bed on as well. I'm trying to make sure I move it the right way. So yeah, what I'll do, let me switch over to the main camera, sort of try and get you a view of what it looks like now. We've definitely come a long way from where we started today. We've obviously got the A and B drives on the back. I think the colour looks really, really nice. Really happy with that. So let me just move this out of the way. I want to talk about the bed and basically get people's opinion on what we're going to do. So Derek's saying you fancy one of those light X rails on the Gantries. Yeah, so this will be the first, well, I've only got one other, no, I mean, this will be the first time I've used a lightweight gantry on any of my printers, so it'll be interesting to see both how it holds up, but also if it has any negative effects as well as positive. So I want to talk about the bed. So first of all, I've got a little bag of screws which had another 2 longer ones in. Not entirely sure what they're for. The 2 longest ones were actually what attached the Wago quick connectors printed part to the bed, so I sort of know what the 2 longer ones are for. But I'm wondering what their intention is with regards to move that out of the way, the thing on the back here. So let me just take this protective cover off. So obviously on the, don't worry about if it's the top or the bottom, but we've got the 2 parts here, and this is our basically a stop for the flex sheet. So we obviously need something that's going to go at the back to stop the bed. Now if we look at like what's on a Prusa bed, they've just literally got like 2 posts sticking up. The problem is the screws that they've given us, the shorter ones won't do that. They are not big enough to even go through the thickness of the bed. How can I show you that? There. So the little ones are out. You don't really want to put them from the top because the screw will be too big for that to work. So we've got the longer ones, but I think the longer ones are too long. Oops. I wonder if they are not supposed to go through. I wonder if they are not supposed to go through and the sheet sits touching the screw head. Yeah, so I don't think that will work. So let me just screw this one in and we'll see. So I mean that's as far as it will go in, right? But obviously you're also gonna have a magnet on as well, right? So that's an extra little bit of height. And the problem is, how can I show you this? Basically, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to go, because the bed is long enough that it needs to go right to the back of the basically needs to go there. Oops. So that it's on at the front, basically. It's right at the front. So I'm not sure if we've got the right hardware for that. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. It's not the end of the world. I can easily get. Don't screw it all the way and lock it with Loctite. What, from the top, or you think so? Maybe only go down sort of maybe half the distance. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. So the Prusa style beds, and I'm sure this is the same for other ones as well. So I'm not sure if these threads go all the way through or not, to be honest. Or I might have actually used that screw for some plastic earlier. Yeah, so go half distance, yeah. But then if we use, say, one that is the correct thickness, right? So let's say this screw is the right thickness, and I'm screwing it through from the back, and it's now bottomed out, right? That would be perfect. that is how you want it. So ignore that this is sticking out. If this was the right size, that's how you want it. So I think it needs a different, I don't think those hardware are the right hardware. So that's the first thing. Again, not a major issue, easily. I mean, there's loads of hardware here. There's probably plenty spare. Okay. So that's the first thing. The next thing, the most important thing for me, is how we attach the thermal fuse. Okay. So this is the bottom. So the bed will go on like this, right? And this is, they've made all this the right size, cables and everything. Due soon, hit verify later using the hex. Yeah, I mean, or if you have available and don't want to use laptop, you can use a set screw from the bottom to lock. Yeah, it's a good idea. So there's possibilities there for sure. That was just the first thing I wanted to bring up. So obviously the way that they're designed this bed and everything is that we've got basically some sort of quick release or some connectors basically, so we can put our thermal fuse on. The problem is there's no other threaded holes on the bottom of this bed than the two at the back for the bed locator. So when I asked Fysetc what the plan was, they sent me a picture of having the thermal fuse basically attached to one of these bits that are sticking out the back, basically. Let me just turn that light off. So that was sort of their suggestion on how to attach the thermal fuse to the bed. Now to me, that doesn't seem quite right, because we're not going to be in full, basically we're not in full surface with the aluminium bed, are we? Because we're only attaching it to a little nibbin at the end, right? So that's how they envisage you to do it. So my question is, and do I do what I did on the 2.4, which is to use what's it called, RTV, to RTV it to the bed, which is what I've done on the 2.4, or do I drill and tap a hole in? So this is how I would imagine you really want it. So it's fully on the surface of the bed, not on like that, because if you then look from the bottom, like all of it is not against the aluminium bed. So I just wondered what people's thoughts were, because obviously I'm at the stage where I need to prepare the bed. So what do we think we should do? Do we use RTV and RTV it to the bed like that? Do we have this positioned in such a way that we've got enough room that we can drill and tap another hole? Because we can't, I mean, you could just about get away with doing that. But I'm not sure. So what are people thinking? The chat has just scrolled right through.
So let me just open this up over here so I can see what you're saying. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so we either think there's a hole missing, or if I may offer an unsolicited opinion, I'll suggest doing over the heated pad, because if it loosens, yeah, exactly. That's why on the 2.4 I've RTV'd it to the thing, and the thermal fuse might not end up getting triggered. Exactly. Is it going to affect the pad, as the orange part is insulated, to push the heat to the bed? Yeah, so basically there's several ways of looking at it, and saying there's pros and cons for doing it either way, isn't there? I actually don't have a thermal fuse on my other V0 because, again, there wasn't a threaded hole in the bed. That was a Formbot kit, and I didn't have any RTV, so that one just doesn't have one. But I want to put one on here because there's one that comes with the kit, and obviously the way the connectors are, we're going to need to use it. So yeah, that basically, it's whether we attach it to the aluminium bed or if we attach it to the heated pad. Yeah, V0 is not, the original V0 was a mains heated bed, but the 0.1 went to DC bed. Yeah, I mean, we know this is a DC bed. That's not the issue. Like, this will all hook up how it's meant to. So these will go to the Wago connectors and then eventually go off to the board. It's how we connect it is basically, is this a pocket in the very center of the pad? No. It's basically just to cover over where the thermistor is, and then this one is just to keep all the wires the same, keeping them all together, and they're like sealed in. So there's no yeah, there's no pocket or anything. So I'm tempted to RTV it to the bed, but as Richard pointed out, this would have to get hotter, because obviously it's got to come through, it's got to heat this up as well to trigger it. But equally, because the thermistor is on the bed, on the heated pad and not on the aluminium bed, this bed will have to get, well, this will get a lot hotter than 120 degrees to trigger this to 120. So yeah, actually 125, but near enough. Yeah, so we'll have Clipper itself has got its own settings. So in that regard, maybe it doesn't really matter, but it's a safety feature, isn't it? So we sort of have to address it in some way. If there's a catastrophic firmware problem, if a MOSFET gets left open, the clipper has stopped but it's still going, then we need the thermal fuse to physically stop the current getting to the heated pad. Yeah, exactly, Derek. So, and I know there's a chat delay here, so what I'm saying is going to be a little bit delayed. Yeah,
So something I need to think about, basically. Just wanted to see what people's opinions were. I don't really want to drill the bed, because it also obviously means having to put this. I mean, it's not going to be like majorly out of center, but you don't have an awful lot of space if that's what you're going to try and do. Yeah, exactly. So the further away you are from the heat, the longer it's going to take to get to the right reset temp or the kill temperature. And I know the sort of opinion in the Voron community is to RTV it to the heated pad. They obviously don't really take a side either way, so that, you know, there's less sort of liability there. But I know Nero did a video on it where he RTV'd it to the bed, and that's what I've done on my 2.4. So let's have a look. The music stopped again. So yeah, I think that's basically where we are. I've got to decide how I go about doing the bed. Yeah, so we're sort of semi-agreed then that we're going to RTV it to the bed. To the heated pad, yeah. Because I don't feel comfortable sort of having it hooked off to the edge. So what I will do then, between now and next Sunday, is obviously I'll attach the magnet and do the heater and everything, and decide basically where everything's going to go. So I think I will wrap it up for today. I think we got loads done. We got done what I wanted to get done. Yeah, mag sheet first, so that, because otherwise you're going to be pushing down on this when you're trying to do the magnet. And I like to leave it at least 48 hours with weight on, to make sure everything is completely stuck down. Yep, excellent. So got loads done. We're starting to look a bit more like a V0 now. Everything moves nicely. So next video, let me have a look at the next stream, I should say. We'll run the belt. What do they want us to do after that? They want us to put the bed in, so I'll have to get that ready. And then we do the tool head. So I think we'll probably do all of that next time. So thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for talking to me in the chat. Yeah, and I'll see you next time, next Sunday. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you